Okay, so um, I realized yesterday that I would have to break these videos up. They're going to take too long for me to discuss everything that I want to talk about and be um, reduced or restricted to 15 minutes. So, my warm ups and my practice, um, it's kind of broken up, or I look at it in three different sections: um, warm ups, skill based, and song work, right? Um, So I feel like the actual ideas of them or the concepts are implied in the name. Pretty straightforward. Um, warm ups. We'll start there. So let me go into tablature. Click here. Okay, so chromatics. This is what I start with every time I pick up the guitar. Um, some form of chromatic, because it's kind of just mindless and I can push through it, and it'll do what I want it to do. Right? It's just there to warm my hands up. It's not focused. It's not really doing anything special. Um, Chromatics can be done, in a multitude of ways, and they're really only limited in your imagination. Um, so, just on the video there, right? And I travel this way, right? um, you're not limited to traveling that way either, right? You can travel in like diminished shapes, right? Going up a semitone every time. Right? Every time I change a string, I'm traveling in a diminished shape or a diminished interval, right? You could do it in major third intervals, right? Right. So it's up to your imagination. As long as the way I see it, as long as one finger is dedicated per fret, and you kind of just let it flow from there. Um, even here, let me do something here. Even in here, right? You don't have to dedicate one finger. Or sorry, you don't have to dedicate to just going straight forward like this. You could do 8, 7, 5, 6, right? You could do 5, 8, 6, 7, right? 5, 6, 8, 7, right? Mix it up, and whatever kind of like hits your imagination, do it, right? Um, Typically, I will spend about 5 minutes doing chromatics, just because they're a good way to just warm the hands up. Um, and then I will split that time up, um, in a kind of a weird way. Um, so the tab here, it kind of shows how I do things. Let me fix this here. Right. So it kind of shows how I do things. So don't mind the BPM. Put the BPM whatever you want. I like to start at 90, and then usually I'll bump it up to like 110, right? And I'm pretty comfortable there to do quarters, eighths, and sixteenths. Um, 16 triplets, that feels okay too at 110, but it's all kind of your own speed, right? Sorry, back to the tab. Um, so once again, going back to talk about how I kind of do them is from the tablature, you can kind of see how I might progress, right? So, looking at the guitar, I might do it. I typically do them like this, right? I'll do one set, and then the second set I'll do eighths, and then the third set I'll double pick everything. It'll look like this, right? Sorry, quarter notes. So I kind of go through this progression of striking them down pick the quarter notes, right? Down pick the quarter notes, alternate pick the eighth notes, double pick, right? So you get kind of a 16th type feel, and then finally end with a triplet, right? End with 3 strikes on a note. Obviously, the way I played it, I wasn't playing to a metronome, so it's not going to sound nice. It's not going to be right on the click, right? But that's kind of not the point right now. It's just to warm up with. So, going forward, 5 and 7 tone scales. Typically, I don't spend too much time on pentatonics. They have their uses, and they definitely are good to learn. I just prefer a 7 tone because it stretches my hand out, and it's just a sound that I prefer. I prefer the 7 tone sound. They both have their uses, and they both have their applications, right? This is minor pentatonic in A, right? Here's an A note, and there's the A note, right? Sorry, I didn't preface by saying that your guitar is going to sound different than mine. I'm actually tuned 2 steps down into C, right? But here's an example of something I would do in a 7 tone, just to as like a warm up, like a mindless kind of exercise. This is in G major, on a standard guitar, G major. But going to the guitar, it would look like this, right? And typically, I wouldn't just do 3 strings. I would run it up, and I would connect it with the next shape on the neck, right? So I would go from G major to A minor, right, on the next note, on the next, position, right? So that would look like this. Right. So I started in G, right? And I ended in A minor. Right. And all I did was run it up, start on a B, right? Sorry, I started on an E actually. So once again, right, I'll use that 7 tone. Right, I kind of fucked up there. I'm just kind of fucking around, right? But, you know, once I come up here, change, slide up. Right, and it's kind of just like mindless noodling, right? It's just there to warm your hands up, right? Obviously that's not shown in the tab, but that's just something that I will do, right? That might be too far for you right now, so that's why I just kept this shape in the tab, right? That way it's pretty simplistic, and it's something you should be able to grab a hold of, right? Next, I have speed work written down, but speed in the context of a warm-up, and then speed in the context of skill-based is completely different. When it comes to speed work in a warm-up, what you're seeing on the screen right now is something I would do just for speed, right? And I would play this at a pretty brisk pace, probably like 170, 160, 170, right? and it's just to get my wrists, my picking wrist, moving, right? So I would do this kind of pattern like this, and I would honestly, I would just repeat it, right? So when it comes to something like that, it would look like this as far as like a speed warm up. But you can always make it chromatic. You can make it a scale. You can make it whatever you want. Something like and then obviously go fast or as slow as you want, right? You could even mix it up, right? You could do something like that, right? Or sorry. Right. It all comes out in the wash, right? It's all kind of up to you, right? Let me turn my guitar up. Right, so we have this kind of idea, and I'm playing it pretty slow, but in the context of the warm up, like I said, I would probably bump the speed up, like 170, 160, just to where I know I'm gonna have an accurate picking pattern, and I know I'm gonna be able to get a decent warm up, and I'm not pushing myself to something like 210, which is really pushing the limits of how fast I can play at 16th notes, right? What else do we have? Okay, so I'm probably going to cut the video there, right? So the next video I'll get into skill based, right?